Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another video. My name is Zach, and I'm a lifelong reader and lover of all things science fiction, fantasy, comics, manga, personal development, business, and everything in between. And today I'm sharing a review and my thoughts on Minimum Wage Magic by Rachel Aaron. So this book I picked up over the holidays, I guess you could say, as part of the Audible sale. So it was one of the discounted books, just browsing through all the great sale offers over that Audible had over the holidays. And yeah, the description just sounded interesting. It sounded up my alley. It's science fiction, fantasy, cyberpunky, magic-y. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. It was cheap at the time, and yeah, I'd never heard about it. And apparently the author, this is a follow-up series to her previous series, Heartstrikers. So I just gave it a shot, and I just finished it this past week, and I thought it was really good. So Minimum Wage Magic, the premise is we're dropped into this world that is a mix of, it's in the future or like a adjacent future where magic reappears in the world. So it's our world, but different. So I love that premise that it's not some fantasy Tolkien-esque land of Middle Earth. It's actually just our world, but with magic. So that grounding in reality, in the way that the author just describes this world and creates this world for us and the characters to live in, it just feels real because everything is normal. It's regular Detroit, but the Detroit free zone, because a spirit has taken over the city and it's a living organic city, and there's magic and monsters and dragons. It's just really cool. So as I was listening to this story, because again, it's Audible, so I got the audiobook, I guess the first thing that came to mind was Bright, the Will Smith movie that was on Netflix a couple years ago, where it's that same thing where it's kind of like our Earth, but just with magic inside. But I guess this is more akin to Shadowrun because it's more cyberpunky. So it's Detroit, but it's like a gritty, magic-y, cyberpunky world of Detroit. So I love that setting. That's not like Bright was in California, so it's like open deserts. This is in a city, so I love that urban fantasy sci-fi-ness to it. So really cool there. That is a huge plus for me, was the world building. I love the world the characters are in and inhabit. And I guess it makes sense that this is the author's second series in the same universe. So you get the benefit of having the world that she's also already, I should say, created, and the rules and kind of how the magic works that's already fleshed out. But again, as the reader for this book, we are introduced to it as a standalone. So I did not need any prior knowledge of the previous works to understand how the magic works. Maybe if you've already read those, this is a bit redundant, but to me it was all new, and I love the way that, like a good book should, right, that we're just given pieces of information as we need to know it, and as our character just stumbles across things in her day-to-day that she'll come across and see, like the dragons flying in, and then we're told a little snippet of, oh yeah, that's where the dragons live in Detroit, and they come for their conferences, and it's just a normal thing because this is the DFZ, this is the Detroit Free Zone. So I love that kind of way the author writes. I thought she has a really great writing style, and again, because this is one of her later works, that it shows the maturity as a writer. Everything really came together, and I love the flow of these anecdotes about the world while the story is progressing forward. So there's no like break in the story of let's break down this complex result because our main character is a total newbie, and there's a little bit of that, and of course it always works as a kind of literary device that we're shown a scene through the eyes of someone new to that, and it's through that kind of mechanism of the outsider in the story that we, the reader, learn about the same thing that we're also learning about through like a sidekick or the main character thrust into a new world. But we're not really given that here because our main character, Opal, she's a part of this world. We're dropped in the middle of the story. So I guess it felt a little bit of that, gritty kind of Blade Runner-y like kind of feel, which is what I was kind of picturing in my mind, this Blade Runner 2049 view of Detroit where it's futuristic but with that magical element. So I love that there's magic going around, that there's mages, and like our character, she doesn't have a glamorous job. She's a cleaner, which is a like treasure hunter in a way, that she is just assigned to clean out old apartments and she gets to keep what she finds. So I guess it's kind of like storage wars in the sense that they bid for the like storage unit, and then they whatever they find inside they treasure hunt and keep as a prize. And maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's some kind of undiscovered riches in the abandoned storage unit. So it's really cool. I like that it's just grounded in a normal kind of tale. And I like that the character Opal didn't necessarily, or at least not yet, has the trope where she's the chosen one. And I thought the story, I guess not to trying to give away any spoilers, but I thought the story was going to go that way. Towards the end of the book, we're kind of given these hints of what's happening, and then we get some reveals that kind of, as a good story should, it opens us up to the larger world, and that there is more going on to it than the main storyline that we've been following, that we've seen hints of these other storylines, and we are introduced to, I guess, the other family, to keep it a little vague, the other family members of Opal, and that kind of sets off more about who she is. We finally get glimpses of into her past, and I thought the story was going to go a little bit into that trope that, because we've given the hints earlier that she went to a prestigious magic school, and now she's kind of this down in her luck cleaner working at the lower status of society, where earlier in the novel we're given these hints that in her past she was like at the Harvard of magic, or at the Hogwarts of magic, I guess I should say. But now she's working in this very menial job, even though she had this high tier education, and there obviously was some reason of how she got there. So is it that case where she's secretly the badass magician, but now she's just doing something below her? But it kind of flipped it a little bit on its head, because it turned out she isn't really anything special, or at least there's given hints that she might be, or maybe I just misread that scene where they talk about some of the powers and she does some other magic a little bit outside of her normal scope of abilities. But yeah, it didn't really have that hero's journey of, he's the chosen one. Like, I guess because I've recently read Wheel of Time, she's not a Rand character where suddenly she's the Dragon Reborn. Again, the Wheel of Time top of mind. But yeah, I loved Opal's character. She felt very real and relatable. She's just having her problems, trying to figure things out on her own. And I guess, yeah, you could see that she's rebelling against something, which is her parents and this control. And then as we're given the glimpses later on, we do get a payoff of kind of what she's rebelling against. And we learn how that's connected, of course, as any good plot should. It's all sort of connected together. And yeah, the plot resolves nicely at the end of this first novel. And as a good trilogy should be, right, we're left open to what happens next, that not everything gets resolved about Opal. We'll learn about her past. We learn about her partner, I guess you'd say, that's working this job with her, that depending on how far you read this, what Nick's done and how he kind of fits in this, and where the two of them are going after this job's finally finished. So I'm really excited to see it. I thought it was a great start to this series. I think the DFZ, the Detroit Free Zone, is a really cool concept of a Shadowrun brought to life through our main character, who's a mage, who's a cleaner, living and surviving in this world with all these external forces of magics and goddesses and spirits and dragons. It's just really cool, really enjoyable, great read. Again, probably not the top of the list. But it was a really good read. It was a solid 4 out of 5 for me. A really enjoyable read. It flows really fast. I really breezed through it over, I think, about a week and a half. So didn't take long at all, because the story just moves. It's very action paced. So I love the pacing, love the story, love the plot, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Again, a little bit of a romance, but not a heavy romance. So I was a bit worried that this is going to kind of go a little bit too young adult, because it kind of has that style, at least from the Audible description. So I was like, okay, maybe this is a little, young adult, and I guess it kind of is ish. But yeah, the romance really doesn't happen. So that's a great welcome to what I thought I was getting to going into this. again, maybe stereotyping that it's a female main character in this magic world and she has a male counterpart, that there's going to be something happening, but it really didn't happen, which is refreshing. That there's kind of a little bit of a subtext there, but it's not a major plot point at all. So this is all character driven. So if you like that kind of like badass main character female who just living on her own and being independent, this was a great read for that. And yeah, again, the world, cyberpunk, magic, futuristic, Detroit free zone. Really cool concept. So do check it out. This was my thoughts and review of Minimum Wage Magic by Rachel Aaron, the DFZ Part 1. So thank you for watching and have a great day.